Hey everyone, it's Amy. I am a travel agent and a travel blogger primarily for Hawaii, and today I'm going to be doing this video, 10 things to know before going to Hawaii. So I actually wrote a blog post on this several years ago and it's done really well, so I decided to make a video version. But if you like to read blog posts, I will leave it in the description below. It's a little bit different than this. I kind of updated it since it's been a while, but anyway, let's get right into it. These are just some things that you need to know before going to Hawaii, or things that might surprise people, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get into it. Number one, temperature. I am asked all the time, what's the temperature in Hawaii? So there are several islands in Hawaii, and there are different parts of the island and they have different temperatures. But generally speaking, it's going to be sunny and in the 70s or the 80s. That's just pretty standard now. On some islands, especially like the Big Island or Maui, where they have some higher elevation, it can get really cold. So if you're going to go up Mauna Kea or Haleakala on the Big Island and Maui, respectively, then you're going to want to make sure you have a jacket, maybe some pants, something a little warmer. But just generally speaking, the weather in Hawaii is nice all year. There are certain parts of the island where it rains a little bit more, certain parts of the islands rather, where it rains a little bit more. But generally you don't have to worry about that, because when developers are building these massive resorts, they know where the sunny parts of the islands are, and that's where they're putting the resorts. So generally speaking, the weather in Hawaii is nice almost all the time, almost. Number two, when you go to Hawaii, don't say or assume that everyone is Hawaiian, because Hawaii was a sovereign kingdom, and some believe still should be. It's like really controversial. However, you want to keep in mind that there are people who are actually Hawaiian. So not everyone who lives there is Hawaiian. It's not like being a Californian or a New Yorker or something like that. So just kind of be mindful of that. Typically, locals are called locals, or kama'aina, which just translates to of the land. So don't just go and be like, oh, there's all these Hawaiian people, because some people are native Hawaiian, but most are not. Hawaii is a very diverse place. This was a little bit more relevant when I wrote the blog post, but plastic bags are banned in Hawaii. So you want to bring your own reusable bags or buy some there, support, a local business that sells them. So that's really becoming more common now than it was when I originally wrote the blog post, but just something to keep in mind, something you probably wouldn't think to bring on your vacation. But yeah, just throw a couple of reusable bags in there, because they do not have plastic bags in Hawaii. So if you plan to do any shopping where you're going to need to carry multiple things, bring one. All right, I have a list. I printed a list. I am that many years old. Number four, Hawaii is expensive. Hawaii is really expensive. So sometimes people think that Hawaii is going to be an affordable destination because it's part of the US, but even flights to get to Hawaii are very expensive. It's costs more to ship everything there, so it's a very expensive vacation destination. I'm going to touch on this really quickly, that there's no all-inclusives. People assume that there would be. I don't know why the US doesn't have all-inclusives, at least not the way that we think of them, like what you would find in Jamaica or in Cancun or something like that. So just bear in mind that Hawaii is very expensive. The average hotel is over $400 a night. Flights to get there from the mainland US can be anywhere. If you're in the middle of the US or on the East Coast, it can easily be $1,000, especially during the summer or busier times per person. So just kind of keep that in mind. Number five, make sure that you are being respectful to the locals, whether that be local people or local animals and wildlife. Please be respectful, and that means basically not trespassing to get Instagram photos or whatever, because there are so many hikes and different places that are totally illegal. Stairway to Heaven and on Oahu is one that comes to mind. And before you're like, oh, there's a back way. No, that's still trespassing. Like, be polite, be considerate. Don't touch the monk seals, don't touch the dolphins, don't touch the turtles. Like, just don't be a jerk. That should cover you. Just like be respectful to the local people, the local animals, everything, and then you should be fine. And a lot of people are like, oh, locals don't like people visiting Hawaii. Like, the majority do. There's some that don't, but honestly, you're not going to run into an issue, most likely, unless you're the one that's being the problem. So just keep that in mind. Number 6, don't step on the coral. So snorkeling in Hawaii is one of the best things to do. It's one of my favorite things to do. just be very mindful that you're not stepping on things. Now, if you go on any kind of reputable snorkeling tour, they're going to tell you this, but just be really mindful that you're not stepping on the coral that's very fragile. Obviously, just be very, very careful. That's something I like to talk about. And also, on that note, make sure you're choosing reef safe sunscreen. I have some in the blog post that I'm going to link. I have a couple that I really like. Just make sure you're doing that because that affects the coral as well. Next, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 7, keep in mind that return flights from Hawaii are often red-eyes. The only exception to this is Southwest Air, because Southwest does not do red-eye flights, period. But any other major airline, if you're flying to the Midwest or to the East Coast, you're probably going to have a red-eye flight. Now, if you're flying to the West Coast, you may not have one, but you might. It kind of depends. But any other destination in the US, you're likely to have a red-eye flight. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at booking a Hawaii trip, because it surprises a lot of people. So number 8, it is very important to book a lot of activities and excursions early. As a Hawaii travel agent, a lot of my clients come back to me and they say, oh, we met people there and they were like, oh, we want to do this luau, we want to do this whatever. And they couldn't do it because it was sold out. And yes, that is a very common thing, a lot, especially during busier times. More popular activities will sell out. So just keep that in mind when I'm working with my clients. We always book things a few months early. So if there's something in particular you want to do, if there's a hike reservation you want to get, if you want to go to Pearl Harbor, if you want to get a reservation for Haleakala Sunrise in Maui, if you want to do a particular luau, please book those early. Number 9, resort fees. Resort fees are unfortunately standard in Hawaii. They're very common. They usually range from $25 to $45 or even $50 a night. You generally don't pay them when you book your reservation. They're paid to the resort when you check out. Resort fees can include a lot of different things. For some resorts, they include parking. For some, they don't. They generally include things like lay gradings or activities. It really varies, but just be mindful that a lot of resorts in Hawaii do have those resort fees. The only ones that don't are either very, very, very cheap places, the kind of places you don't want to stay, or very, very expensive places where, let's be honest, they're just built into. Something like the Four Seasons is going to say, oh, we don't have a resort fee, but you know, it's a lot more expensive than most other places. So number 10, you really need a rental car. You really need a rental car. You really need a rental car. Now, if you're going to Oahu and you plan to stay in Waikiki and you want to do things that typically have transportation or can include transportation, then it might be okay for you to forego a rental car on Oahu only. If you're going to Kauai, if you're going to Maui, if you're going to the Big Island, you're really going to need a rental car. I like Discount Hawaii rental cars. I will link them in the description. But you're really going to need one. Because a lot of the hotels and resorts will have rental cars on property that you can rent. It's a lot more expensive. You know why? Because a lot of people go to Hawaii thinking that they don't need one, but you really, really, really do. Like, you really do. It's not a place to stay at the resort. If you just want to stay at a resort, then go to Cancun or go to, you know, Jamaica or St. Lucia, or and even then I wouldn't stay at the resort, but you know what I mean. Don't go to like Maui and never leave your resort. There's some fantastic resorts in Maui. I'll leave a link somewhere to a couple of my favorites, like the Andaz or the Hyatt Regency. There's a lot, but regardless, you don't want to just stay there. You want to be able to go and do all those things. Like if you're on Maui, for example, you want to go to Haleakala Sunrise. You want to go to Rodahana. You want to go do all these things. So rent a car. There are 10 things that you need to know before going to Hawaii. If you liked this, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have anything to add, because as I said, this is by no means an all-inclusive list, let me know what you would add to that, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video with some more things that you should know. If you want to see more Hawaii travel tips and resort reviews and things to do in Hawaii, things to do in the Caribbean, all that kind of thing, please subscribe and keep an eye out for the next video.